then more than likely you will get what you need from that. So everybody's, if you will, somewhat qualified in all those areas because there's more than one comparison basis, but they're not necessarily in other areas. And that's really the concept. So the concept behind Bestcovery is let us figure out the best way to determine the best, and we'll just make that easy for you, whether it's wisdom of the crowd in like hotels or restaurants or whatever have you, or is it experts, or if it's just calculation, what's the best, which we don't have right now, what's the best mortgage rate in California for 30-year loan for jumbo, whatever have you. That's just mathematical. So we will determine it and we will provide it to you. Just trust us that we will give you the right information.
Is that where you're going in the future?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go everywhere. I mean, the idea is that if you want to not spend a whole lot of time spending something, researching something, then that's Bestcovery is for you. And again, I totally understand when you are an enthusiast in cameras and you want to read pages, megapixels, and so on and so forth. My wife, for example, she just knows she wants to take pictures of horses, or whatever, right? So she just would say, okay, if you want to take pictures of horses, these are the best 5 cameras. And so the idea is that you don't have to know what megapixels are or, so on and so forth.
Back here?
So are you hiring at Bestcovery any developer positions or anything like that?
We are. Never mind that the gentleman who's speaking works for Bestcovery. I have to. That's Phil Yang, one of our team members.
Hi,
so, but thank you. We are, absolutely. But thank you for that advertising.
Yes.
How does Bestcovery differ from consumer search?
So consumer search, I would say similar. I mean, it looks like the two have converged. I mean, I know, and that they are part of, I think, the Times organization, New York Times, that is. I think they're a lot more similar now, but they're more of an aggregator, right, than us, which we say we go and find one expert and say this. So there are sites that aggregate experts and say, okay, among all these experts, this was, but that's not our business. I really think that sort of dilutes it because I'm not sure who's, we make sure that this is the expert we trust and this person is on top of it and they will serve it, as opposed to, well, 50 people said that this is a good camera. Well, it's good for what? What was his criteria versus the other guy's criteria? So it's a little bit more of an aggregation, I would imagine. Well, let's put it this way. Let me speak about my business. My business is not about aggregating in this case when we're using expert.
How do you determine what size market is worth going after? Chris and I both run triathlons, and in the ultra-endurance triathlon training, there's like 2.5 watches that are appropriate. Like that, and there's maybe 100 people in all of Los Angeles training for an Ironman. So is that market too small? Will you ever get to a market that size? Is that even on the radar? How do you determine that?
No, absolutely. But I'm hoping people like yourselves will come in and say, well, we know what is the best for, and so why not put this on? And so you may say, for whom? I mean, if you're already an athlete, you already know what is the best. That's not the reason. But why would I need it? Why would anybody else need it? Well, I'm your friend, which I'm hoping to be. I want to come over for your birthday and bring you a nice gift. How would I know what to buy? And so this is a good way to get that information. So I'm hoping that we will cover everything, right? I mean, my vision is even something like, hey, it's Sunday afternoon, for a pasta dish, what is the best wine under $20 to take? Because that will be a really interesting thing, because I don't know anything about wine, but I'm going to a party and I should take something. What is a nice bottle of wine that won't embarrass me, right? And what, why not get that information without having to go and read, the palette is that way, just saying these are the best and here's why it's best. And
What
goes
if you
with
like the
these dishes.
bouquet?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know what a bouquet means. It's so.
Good questions, everybody.
You mentioned earlier when you were working on Price Grabber that one of the problems you had was that there were these copycat sites coming out, going to your site, grabbing that data, maybe putting that on their site. So has that been a problem for you with Bestcovery? Do you find?
Absolutely. So since we've launched, there's like a number of different companies that have come up and said we will determine the best, which is fine. The competition will show up. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's all about execution. What I love, though, is some that claim, we just came up with this brilliant idea. Reality of it is, though I think Bestcovery had somewhat of an innovation, but if you look at it, you know, somebody pointed out consumer reports. I mean, it's all of these are build-ups, right? Comparison shopping. How did you come up with this genius idea? It's like, really, what part of it was genius? Everybody comparison shops, right? It's nothing new. It's just you taking technology that allows you to do that better, in a more powerful way, more meaningful way, what a more efficient way, and then you apply it to that. That's really what you're doing. If you think about it, comparison shopping used to be you walking to the store and say, what is this, what is that, you know, then telephones came, and maybe you called a few places, what are the prices here, what are you know, and now there's internet, and you can do 50, 60 sites that are selling the same product, and look at them all in 1 second, less than a second. So it's really taking technology and applying to it. So competition, there's nothing wrong with it. One more thing just to disclose to you is it's really interesting. When we started Price Grabber, and everybody, you know, there were already a number of different comparison shopping sites as well. But we looked at it and said, this is how they're doing everything wrong. Here's how we can do it better. And we went and executed and proved that it could be done better. And many of those companies didn't survive, and we did.
Just to follow up real quick, so, you know, is there anything you can do to protect your content? Which, you know, let's say, for
Good luck.
Good
example, you know, expert review. You know, what's stopping me while I'm talking to you from copying and pasting it, putting a, you know, expert review on my blog? You know, what can you do besides send them cease and desist?
Well, you know, so they're doing that, and there are laws to protect you, but it's a nightmare, you know. And reality of it is, you know, someday somebody will come up with some technology that will help that. But I think also it's kind of vague, because all they have to say is, well, you know, according to Bestcovery, and then start having the same list, the same information, just maybe changing the words a little bit. That's what I'm trying to tell you is that you know. And by the way, by changing the words, sometimes they completely change the meaning of stuff, which
That's
is
a
really
good point
interesting.
of a
And
review.
yeah, so it's just, that's what I mean when I say there's a lot of garbage content out there. That's one way, and another is just pure garbage to start with. So so it's a challenge, but I don't think there is anything you can do really to combat that. The only thing you can do is just try to get the name out there, and for people to know that you're a legitimate site and to believe in you.
Anybody else? So in other words, a big part of it is positioning. It's making sure you've got visibility, that you are kind of owning the market, so to speak, in your space as much as you can. Getting out there, talking to the influencers, doing some marketing and PR.
Absolutely, and create a brand name, hopefully, over time. That's really important.
Efren in the chat room. I guess we're about, you know, near the end here. Any final thoughts, questions?
Okay.
One more.
So, you know, one thing I've been noticing that when you look at review sites, is that there are the broad-based review sites, and then there's like Wine Spectator for wine, or
Enthusiast sites, so that's what I call those, yeah.
How are you planning to sort of mesh the two together? Because if I'm a wine guy, I'm going to go to Wine Spectator. I'm not going to come to
Absolutely.
Wine Spectator,
Right.
If I'm an electronics guy, I might go to whatever.
CNET or
Yeah.
imaging
Or if I'm a
resources.
car guy, I'm going to go to whatever.
Right,
Or-
right.
So how do you mesh these two together? It seems to be this is like the big split between broad base and then.
Right. So the idea is, if you're an enthusiast, the only reason I would want you to come to Bestcovery is two reasons. A, to contribute and say, well, this is, I know about wine, I want to write about wine, and here's my qualifications. And we say, yes, please come and contribute, and that's great. The other thing is, so that's your wine, but do you want to also go and read about your vacuum cleaner, or do you want to go and read about, you know, the best lipstick, because maybe that's what you want to buy for your daughter, for your niece, whatever have you. So there are a lot of different criteria, and you can't be an enthusiast in all of them, right?
Right.
Let's say I like watches, which I do, and I like to read about them, about the movement and all that stuff. But really, when I want to buy a speaker, you know, I'm not that interested. It's like, what's the best speaker for, you know, surround
Yeah.
sound? And that's all I want to know from an expert. And it says, well, here it is for this price range. This is the best. You should really consider these 4 or 5, and I want to go with that. So really, the Bestcovery is really for your average consumer that wants to buy it based on an educated information, or based on information and based on education, and they just don't know it. And if you think about it, if they do go to a site that is enthusiast, let's say about cameras, and talking about megapixels or pitch or this,
It's
whatever,
overwhelming.
you totally get lost. Like I have an engineering degree. I wanted to buy the speaker, honestly. I have a master's in engineering, and I couldn't understand what the hell they were talking about. And I read the whole thing, 4 of them, and I still don't know which one of these is better. They all had 4-star rating, and I just couldn't figure it out. So there's got to be a better way to do this, and that's how Bestcovery came to be.
Great. Well, any final thoughts? Anything we haven't covered? Any news that we need to know about that's coming out of
I think
Bestcovery?
by now you should know that I have absolutely no thoughts whatsoever. I think I've proven it for the last hour. So.
All useless information.
All
of course,
useless.
completely useless. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was
Everyone,
fun.
round of applause
Oh,
for
thank you.
Kamran. Kamran Pourzanjani with Bestcovery and former C of Price Grabber right here. And of course, thank you to Coloft, our wonderful hosts, for having us here for the interview today. So make sure you are following at Coloft on Twitter. And of course, make sure you're following at TechZulu as well. And always use the hashtag TZLive in order to submit questions, and we'll always get back at you. But until next time, I am your host, Amanda Coulong, TechZulu Live.